Okay, here we are, another day or night and another video. It is like, I think it's like 7 in the morning, Tuesday 17th of August. And I was actually going to do this video last Friday, but I postponed it because I honestly didn't believe that it would take this short of a time for everything to unfold like it has. I knew it would happen fast. I've been saying that for a very long time, and there was one of the things that I was really pissed off. There were two things that I was really pissed off about when it comes to Donald J. Trump. He did a lot of good. He weakened China, Iran, Russia, made NATO pay the borders in the United States, got United States freed from oil from the Middle East. All kinds of stuff he did that actually affects us, because a strong America is the basis for our freedom. But there were two things that I disagreed so much with him, that if I knew that this would happen, I think I would have preferred Hillary Clinton. Because to send 37.5 million people into the slaves of theocrats and religious fanatics and fascists, just because you don't want to keep a few thousand troops in Afghanistan to help the Afghani army with air support and logistics, and also of course intelligence and stuff like that. It is just heartbreaking that nationalism, this us and they thing, which everybody's talking about now. Oh, my mother said that the other day. They have to fix their own problems. Now, could somebody tell me how people who have basically nothing, that has no power, that are basically a population depleted by war, for decades of war, where we, first the Russians, destroyed the country. Then we came in, of course we helped the Mujahideen, not the Taliban, but the Mujahideen to fight the Russians. Of course we contributed with basically the destruction of the country, if you see it that way. But I mean, getting the Russians out was probably a part of the Cold War anyway, and that was fought all over the world. So maybe that was a good thing, but then we just left. And then the Taliban popped up because there was a civil war that raged between all the groups and all the tribes. And the Taliban came in and took over. And made Sharia law the law of the land, and women couldn't go to have jobs, girls couldn't go to school, you had child marriages, you had people being killed in football stadiums for nothing, you know, they have stonings, they have all this stuff. And then I remember so clearly 9/11. I was walking in the street with a friend of mine called Frode, and we heard, I think I got a message from somebody on my phone, and that said there is something happening in America. We didn't know then what was actually happening, but I went home and I saw one of the buildings burning, and I didn't realize that this was actually a terrorist attack, and but when the second plane hit, I just said, wow, okay. And I remember ex-girlfriend of mine sent me a message, oh, we have to think about all the dead in the Twin Towers and stuff, which of course is the right thing to do, because it was a horror show. I mean, people falling out of the buildings, jumping, you know, people burning to death and all this shit. But I sent her back, yeah, I agree, but now the Americans will have a free ticket to be world police forever. I said this because I was still very much rooted on the left. It was before I kind of went from the far left to becoming more and more, not conservative, but more international minded, more rational maybe. Also listened a lot to Christopher Hitchens, which was of the opinion that removing dictators was a good thing for the world, and that America was basically the only one who could do it. So I saw the silver lining, because was annoyed by this horror regime in Afghanistan long before 9/11. I couldn't understand why the international community couldn't just go in and remove them. So I saw a silver lining here. I saw, wow, okay, fine. When America was figuring out that it was Bin Laden who came from Afghanistan, I thought, okay, good thing, you know. Finally we can get removed of these bearded fascists. And they did. And I was happy about it. And then, of course, came the Iraq War, which was I supported, I still do, because removing Saddam Hussein is the moral thing to do. It's also the ethical thing to do. And I think, in my view, in my personal view, I don't see the world as partitioned into many different countries. I see the world as one. I see humanity as one people living on one single globe. This globe, this is iron, actually comes from the mill that crushed copper for the Statue of Liberty from Visnes, Karmøy, where I come from. So this will have crushed copper. Probably not to that statue, because this is probably came in later, but you know, this is what they used to crush it with. So, and we live on a planet, one species, one human species, no races, nothing, just one humanity living on this planet with an iron core that is going around creating this magnetic field that actually keeps the air, you know, around the planet in place. Atmosphere, of course, atmosphere, sorry, pardon my English. And we have, as Carl Sagan say, nowhere else to go. And now, after so many years, after so much hope amongst the women in Afghanistan and the peace-loving people in Afghanistan, it was the Afghan nation was slowly evolving towards more freedom, more press freedom, more democracy. Children went to school. 3 million women had gotten an education. Girls could, of course, go to school. Girls wasn't sold into sex slavery like they are being doing now. Actually, the Taliban are already stolen small girls, tiny girls, 10-year-olds, probably younger, and forcefully married them to their soldiers, just like ISIS did. And it already started again. And of course they can't go out, they can't go to school, they can't do anything. And I wonder, where is the feminists in this? Where is the feminists in the West? Why aren't they complaining about these things to Muslim countries? And to go, of course you can't complain to ISIS and Taliban anyway, because they don't give a shit. So it is just heartbreaking for me to know that so many people, and they are talking about maybe 22,000 people now that are on the death lists of the Taliban. All the people that actually worked with the Americans and the West will probably be slaughtered. and they will carve their heads off with knives. I've seen the videos. I know how it is. And you see it, I've seen many, I see it at all. You can't really get it out of your head because the screaming, the blood, you know, if they only beheaded people with a sword quick, that is bad enough, you know. But they are actually carving people's heads off, often from slowly, so they suffer more. And this is what is installed for the people who is running after planes in Afghanistan now. This is what these fuckheads behind me are going to do to people, to fellow human beings. For one reason. For one reason. They believe in Allah. They believe in the Quran. They believe in Sharia. They actually believe what they say they believe in. And for some reason, the left has just, they don't really, I don't think they get it, you know. They didn't used to get it. I mean, ISIS put this into play, but then they say, oh, they're just fanatic. No, this comes from scripture. Actually, the Taliban and ISIS is the ones that are right, if you compare it to the Quran. And I've read the Quran, and I even made a Muhammad video where I play the whole Quran in the background while I'm painting in English, audiobook. And I did that because the Charlie Hebdo massacre annoyed me so much, and as an artist I have to be willing to do some sacrifices for the most important thing next to probably my daughter or my life or the life of my parents. Freedom of speech. And people in Afghanistan, women, men, has been fighting for freedom of speech. They have been fighting for democracy. They have been fighting for a society they could actually live in. And they trusted the Americans. They trusted us. They trusted us because we have the resources. And when Trump started this withdrawal, I thought, oh shit, you know. If I knew that he would actually go through with it, I think I would have gone, I can't stand Hillary Clinton, but I would basically have preferred her, because 37 million people in the hands of these tards over there, the Taliban, that is just not acceptable. And of course he also became friends with Kim Il-jung, which also was a great disappointment, because he started out good and said little rocket man are on a suicide mission, and I thought, yeah, finally somebody's going to do something with that fuckhead, you know. 25 million people under his fat, yeah, you know. Anyway, back to the Taliban. So, I mean, and then comes Biden. Bumbling Biden. You know what I feel about Biden? I'm just going to put that in there because I think it's quite funny, really. It feels like it's not really there. It feels like right now the Americans doesn't have a president. There is no president. There is nobody ruling everything. And what he did, which is so absurd, he removed all the things that Trump did good. He started with this Paris deal again. He let the Russians have their pipeline to Germany. He restarted negotiations with the Iranians about nuclear stuff. He didn't support Israel. He made China strong again. And open borders. America is no longer energy independent because of him. He shut down the pipeline, the pipeline in Canada, and stuff that he shouldn't have done. Stuff that Trump did good. He fucked up. But the only thing that Trump did, one of the two things I think Trump did wrong. Pulling out of Afghanistan, starting to pull out of Afghanistan. That was the only thing he kept. The only thing. The only thing he should have changed and sent troops back into that country. We should fight that war against these asses, if it so should take 10,000 years. We should never let any dictator or any theocratic fascists rule a single person. Not one should be under the foot of a dictator or any regime that oppresses their freedoms. We are all human. We are an island. Every single one of us are an island of pure consciousness. We are the most beautiful being in the universe that we know of. Maybe there's other out there, other galaxies and stuff like that, but as of now, we are the only conscious being we know of. There is no other animal who are conscious like us. There are no other animals creating art or creating consciously anyway. And we are letting these thugs like Kim Il-jung, like the Taliban, like ISIS, like the Iranian mullahs, like China, like Putin's Russia, we let all these people, all these dictators in the world, we are letting them rule people. And I mean, the UN Human Rights Charter is clear about this. Slavery is illegal and dictatorship is slavery. So modern slavery today is dictatorship, okay? And of course, economic exploitation of the poor in the world is of course also a big problem. What will happen now? You know, there are 37.5 million people in Afghanistan. There is rare earth metals and resources for between $2 trillion and $6 trillion in the ground in Afghanistan. It's one of the places in the world where you have the most of these minerals and metals. And who is gonna get these metals now? Who do you think gonna get it? The Taliban is already making deals with China. And China will now go in, as they have done in African countries, and they will suck up all these minerals, suck up all these metals, and they will keep on building their military complex and become a bigger and bigger threat against us. So if there was one reason to stick in Afghanistan, one reason besides the people of Afghanistan that need our protection, it would be to stop China. Because China is the biggest threat against world peace. It's the biggest fascist state. And now they will actually go in and suck up all the minerals. And the Afghan new government, if you should call it that, the Taliban, will probably piss it away on everything else than the people of Afghanistan. As I said, girls won't go to school anymore. And women will be again walking around in tents, being basically birth machines for bearded men. And it is such a tragedy. It's so heartbreaking to see that we in the West could do this to the Afghan people. And we have built... I had a friend who was a soldier in Afghanistan. His name was Martin. And he had post-traumatic stress disorder. He started to drink too much. And in a few years, he actually, a couple of years ago, he committed suicide. He didn't make it. So that was one casualty. Now, it doesn't matter if it's personal because, I mean, the Americans has lost a lot of soldiers and we have lost some soldiers too. And it's not really a point. You know, if you become a soldier, one of the hazards with that job is actually war and possibly dying. So if you become a soldier, that is probably what potentially can happen. Now, the chance of an American soldier dying in war in Afghanistan or Iraq is basically like being hit by a truck in America. So the chance for it is very small. If you talk about chance, of course being hurt is bigger, but you know, so I don't think that is an argument. And when I hear people say that these people should manage their own problems, and they call this a civil war, it isn't a civil war. There are 70,000 Taliban soldiers and 3.7 million Afghans. The army was 300,000, they say. But as I said before, that the motivation to the Taliban is basically death. It is the afterlife. The motivation for the general soldier in the Afghan army was life. They went into the army to earn some money to feed their families. One of the jobs they could actually have. So there was no motivation in that army to fight, unless the Americans were there helping them to fight, protecting them. And I knew that. I've been talking about this for years. And now we saw what happens. It happened so fast that I wasn't even able to create a video about it. And before it happened, I was going to do this on Friday, and then I saw the day after, shit, you know, they took over. And so what now? What now? Now the whole country will fall back into the Stone Age. Do you know, before we removed the Taliban, women were back to dying 1 out of 5 in Basel, and when they were bringing children into the world. It was down to the Stone Age level. The death of children was down to the same as in the Stone Age. There was no health care because, inshallah, if God will. And that is their mental state. If you believe in God, I know actually Christian people, one Christian friend who actually believes so strongly in Jesus that he actually don't even think modern medicine is necessary, because he believes in healing and stuff like that. You know, it's weird, I'm an atheist and he's a fundamentalist Christian, but he's a very nice guy, so I forgive him. The point is what as I've been saying now, and my father told me, why should you care? You can't do anything about this anyway. You know, if I should only care about the things that I could change, I wouldn't care about anything. I would only care about my little insignificant life. But I know, and this is why I feel so strongly about this, and I actually feel it. I can feel it. I am so sad on the behalf of the Afghan population, especially the women and the children. The girl children, especially, because they have nothing. They can't even walk the streets, okay? I actually feel it. And that is why I'm making this video. I'm making it because I actually feel we betrayed 37 million people. We betrayed them. We promised them to stick with them. And we left them to rot. And despite me loving America, I'm still a Trump supporter, because at least he can stand up against China and other things like that. Biden is just there, or not there, depending how you look at it. When this falls apart now, what will happen is that every single jihadist in the world will now see, aha, it works. And there was I saw an interview many years ago of an Afghan fighter, and he said that, you know why? What? We will win in the end, he said. We will win. Do you know why he said? No, the other guy said, well, you love life, we love death. We love the afterlife. You want to live. We want to die. That's why we will win. And it is so true. To have a force that is motivated by getting to paradise, it is almost impossible to make them stop fighting. You can't negotiate with them, you can't reason with them, you can't trust them, you can never trust them, because the goal is heaven, the goal is paradise. And we let them win. We let them win. As my late hero Christopher Hitchens said, the only thing we should do with the Taliban is help them become martyrs. Martyrs is what they want to be, and that is exactly what we should do. We should train ourselves in every way we can to make them martyrs as fast as we can. That is what we should have done. And we should have done that until we had bases on Mars and we lived around the moons around around Jupiter, on the moons around Jupiter and Saturn. We should have done that until we were, if necessary, until we were flying out of the solar system. Because fighting theocracy, fighting fascists, is the most important thing the world population can do. We have a responsibility. We that has the resources, and that is my conclusion. We have the resources and we have the responsibility because we have the resources. And it would take a lot of time to change the Afghan society. They are still religious. They are still living in the Middle Ages, basically, many of them. But slowly, we could have created new generations. And it would have maybe taken 100 years, maybe 200 years. Maybe you just needed to get rid of religion altogether. But even if you did, there will always be this guy that said, Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar, Inshallah. And he would have marched in to queues, food queues or food markets with women and children and people, men going about their business, buying food, and blow themselves up. Because that is what religion does to people, sadly. And that is what we was fighting here. And we now told them, in their mind, God is great. God does exist. There is no doubt about it, because they could kick out the biggest force in the world, the Americans. And we lost, and America lost, and we lost face, and we lost all moral high ground. And I'm really, 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 really upset and sad about it. I just had to make this video. I don't know if anyone is gonna watch it, but I just have to have this off my chest. It's a sad, sad, sad time to watch this happen. Anyway, I hope you enjoy some of what I'm saying, and I hope you give a thumbs up, leave a comment, and check out my other videos, other channels where I do my artwork, and I will keep posting also in this channel. So hope to see you in my next video, and as I say, if you disagree or agree, tell me in comments.